Um, well, if the folks didn't get to hear this, but well, you heard me talking, but you didn't hear Ifta. But yeah, Ifta is someone that I've known. I didn't even know how long, to be honest, decades now. Uh, Close friend, someone I admire, incredible, developer, and for us, someone who's always been in both the Max community and also like the live and crosses over and goes back and forth regularly. If there, it's so awesome to have you here in the live stream.
Thanks so much, Tom. Everything you say, I bounce back at you. A legend yourself, a person that I know many, many years. Unfortunately, it's been a while since we met IRL, I feel. It's like 2016, 2017 or something like this, since you, back in the Skinnerbox days, you visited our studio, right? I
Yeah,
think
I
that
the
was the last time.
last time I saw you, you were still in Skinnerbox, and Skinnerbox was
Yeah,
still operational. Uh, I do remember visiting your studio, and it was fascinating to me. It was like there was like the analog corner, and then there
right.
was the like crazy computer tech experimental science lab corner.
Yeah, the cave. It was such a cave. I
And
can
I
still
remember
smell it. Like,
I never forget you telling me like, see that pipe there? There was a pipe, right? That was the sewer pipe. You're like,
yeah,
if that breaks, we're in trouble.
we're literally in trouble. Yeah, it's true.
Uh,
It's true.
if the so I am pretty versed in your Skinner box days, and like you were also like one of the first people to make a Max for Life pack that was released by Ableton, that was part of Max for Live in the 15 years ago nearly. Um,
Right.
but I what I don't know a lot about is your like backstory. Like, how did you get into music? When did computers come into the fold? Like, yeah,
So yeah, like computer music was there since like I was 14, I think, like trackers and stuff. I think I always made music actually. And I think I was never really good in playing instruments. I was always very good in imagining how music could be, but I always had like really hard time to apply it to real life. And this is where luckily computers came to place because I think it was like I was maybe 14. It was like the beginning of the 90s when I first had my hands. I don't even remember how a friend showed me a tracker or something, and I realized that wow, okay, I can make this thing do things.
right.
So yeah, um, fast forward, I think I was like so I had this first encounter with computer music, and I was pretty persistent. I had like a couple of good years of like just making electronic music for myself. I still have the CDs.
What just to, before we go too far, what was that first exposure to computer music? Do you recall? Like,
I think it was Scream Tracker. I don't remember. It was a friend. Like I grew up in a very small village, and a friend showed it to me basically.
yeah.
Um, and I just I don't even remember that. I think it was Scream Tracker. Like one of them. They all looked similar back then. They
Right.
had different names, different skins.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They all kind of did the same, and everything was very intuitive. It was like okay, there was internet was just kind of around the corner. It was pre-internet days, so it was a lot of trial and error.
Right.
And I I kind of intuitively, because of the lack of resources, intuitively learned, like realized that I can sample without even knowing what sampling is.
Right.
So, and I was very young also. And so uh, I had this, but I never had any, I think till I was like 20, 21. I never had any ambitions about it. You know, it was just
Right.
there. I was enjoying it, but I
That's
didn't
a
really. I was exactly. I was more into getting high, basically, and like there was no. It was there as a recreational thing. You know.
I don't know. Honestly, that sounds like utopia right there. Just
Yeah.
like not having because like w- ambitions come like desires and like comparisons and like complications. Just having fun and just like yeah, making your own vibe sounds
Yeah.
like the spot actually.
Yeah, it was fun. I still miss I miss the intuitive part, you know, before knowledge was accessible and everything had an immediate answer. I miss the trial and error, basically.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like you because there was no, internet, there was no manuals, you didn't know what you needed to know. So like
Hmm.
now it's like, very clear you don't know all of these things about Max, right? Like and you're like overwhelmed with the amount of time that it could take to learn all of those things. But back then you just played with the thing.
Yeah, uh,
You were happy with what came out of it.
absolutely. And I think there's a very interesting book, like I think a book that every person that makes computer music or is interested in electronic music should read, called More Brilliant Than the Sun by Kodvo Eshon. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. And he speaks about in a lifetime of a genre of music, there is this very, very brief moment where things are intuitive before they are being studied and I'm not sure what's the verb of something becoming scientific. And this is the most fascinating part of a music genre where things are very, very intuitive before they become very perfectionized. And I think I had a similar experience due to the lack of resources and the lack of knowledge. Also very similar to my how did I get to maximum speed story, by the way. Because of the lack of knowledge and resources back then.
Right.
So yeah, fast forward, like when I was 20 in Berlin or 21, 20 actually, 21. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I was very young, um, and I was studying in the Technical University of Berlin, and somehow I made uh, I showed a piece of software called Bidul. I don't even know if it exists anymore.
I
Uh,
know of it. Yeah, I recall
I
it.
think it's a
Yeah.
Canadian company, and I always heard of Max, but I never really knew how to use it, and it was this big mystery, you know, that I was a little bit afraid of, and then I did this presentation, and the dean of the head of the course connected me to a sound artist, a Swiss sound artist named Andres Bossart, because he was like it was back in 2004 or five. He was making a sound installation in Berlin, and he was looking for like students to collaborate with. Uh, and I went to meet him, and he asked me if I know how to program maximum speed, and I said, yeah, like for sure.
Nice.
And he said, amazing, amazing, you were hired. Like, can you? The idea was like to take the movement of the wind and to translate it to like
Okay.
data that we can use. And I said, yeah, yeah, absolutely, I can do it. No worries, I'm very good in maximum speed. And I had no, I didn't, I went home, looked for a crack like everybody back
Yeah, yeah,
then,
yeah.
basically. Yeah, and had no choice and had to learn it very quickly. And it worked out because I had a good reason,
Yeah, I
actually.
mean, I think you touched on something pretty key there to Max and any person's Max journey. Like, and I see this sometimes with newer users coming in and asking like, what resources should I learn and what should I do? But like nothing beats motivation, and motivation either because you've overcommitted or like you have a deadline like a project, right, or an album release or live show, right? Because,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, there's lots of things in the world, even more so these days, to distract you, to pull time away from development. And so, yeah, having those deadlines uh, or commitments is it's super helpful. Or a project in mind, like trying to just I can't even look at the Max tutorials. Like with there needs to be a reason. Like I want to make X thing. Um, yeah,
absolutely. I think that this is the way to go about it, is to have a very specific need. Instead of building a ring modulator that you don't know why you're
right.
building, basically you should just need either lie, get yourself into a project and lie and say that you can do it so you have no choice, like me,
Yeah,
or
it's funny. I feel like those kind of things were very classic '90s, early 2000s. Like people getting into gigs, not knowing what to do. Like I feel like I don't know if that happens as much as but these days. I mean, and
yeah,
also like I think no one imposter syndrome. People are more conscious of it now. You know, like back then you were just like whatever.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I
um,
agree. Maybe it was easier back then. Also, it was very, like, how would anyone even tell? Like,
Exactly, right?
yeah,
You can't. It's not like you could Google someone's credentials and be like, "Oh, this guy's done a Max MSP presentation and he's legitimate.
exactly.
Um, he's certified." Yeah.
Absolutely. But
Um,
yeah, I mean, every time a young person asks me, like, how would I get into Max, I recommend to, like, basically realize what you want to do with it, like, to have a need and then, like, to pursue this need, I think.
yeah, yeah. Uh, and so I'm curious, like, so Skinnerbox came about in Berlin, right? So you moved to Berlin after your studies, and this is where this project occurred. Is that was Skinnerbox in existence before this, or
Univox was in existence since 2004. Basically, like me and Olaf, we met 2003, I think. And we met and immediately made music with each other. That's how we met. And but this was before we became Skinnerbox. Actually, we were just doing this very like improvised, long electroacoustic abstract jams, playing many instruments. And at some point, I was deep into the sound art world back then. I was like that. I was active making sound installations. Like,
nice?
um, yeah, it was fun. Like, I have my reservations, like about this back then, not today, but that's a different topic. And then I think in 2005, I did a sound installation somewhere in Berlin in a evangelistic hospital. It was very weird. And one of the persons that participated had a friend that was performing in Panorama Bar the same evening, Berghain, but the upper floor.
Right, right.
Uh, yeah, it was a duo called I think Bangkok Impact. I hardly believe they still exist. They were playing this kind of house disco-ish thing from the Netherlands, and they put me on the guest list. And I went there, came back home after like a couple of days, and told Olaf basically, "Hey Olaf, let's let's put some beats in our music, basically."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I went back like very excited, basically, and thought, okay, that's what I want to do. Like
And Olaf was down for it,
he
right?
was, yeah, he was in.
Yeah.
He was down, and it took us like I don't know. We started. He was building us like a this kind of mobile setup back in 2005 with a car battery and like a transformer and a speaker, and we would just go out to the park and play. There's some videos in YouTube. It was very intuitive. I was like, okay, let's play dance music now, and I had a computer and I had like Live 3 or 4, I don't remember. and he was playing the mini moog, and I had like one controller, and it kind of worked out. It was, I don't know, I think it was like we were in the right time, in the right place, and like zeitgeist, you know.
Right,
Yeah,
and
and
there was
that,
a lot of park, outdoor park drinking parties, like right back
yeah,
then. So in Berlin, right, like that was very
yeah,
uniquely a Berlin thing, like the outdoor rave, in the
yeah.
park in the city.
It was
Um,
also very much tolerated by the authorities. You know, you could just do it, and nobody would mind. Like,
That's the incredible thing about that. What and you guys doing that in Berlin, like playing a Sunday afternoon. What's remind me of the famous park there in Berlin where people.
there's several. Like Golitzer Park was the one we
That's
used to
it.
play.
Golitzer.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because it's not that there wasn't raves happening in the outback in Australia and elsewhere. I mean, that was happening, but the reason they had to go outside of the cities was so that they didn't get shut down, and you were able to just be like having it in the equivalent of like Central Park in New York or something, but in Berlin, uh,
yeah,
and it was you could drink, you could dance, you could run all night and not get shut
exactly,
down.
exactly. Yeah, this is long gone. By the way, you cannot do this anymore in Berlin.
Yeah.
But you could, and we were there when you could, so we did,
Yeah.
and it was fun. And then we started touring basically, and until we disbanded somewhere in 2021, actually, on good terms.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you guys had quite a career there, like 20 odd years, nearly.
yeah, 16, 17 years
Yeah.
basically.
And
Yeah,
in Skinnerbox, you were like the way I see it from the outside is, but you is like Olaf was like the analog guy, and you were the crazy electronic scientist, but he also had quite a bit of programming knowledge, right?
yes, yes. He's an excellent programmer himself, actually.
Right.
Yes.
So that was pretty collaborative, right? In terms of what you guys were developing for Skinner Box and for to release through Ableton, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did the first drum machine. I think it was, you mentioned it before. The first Max for Live. I think it was together with the Alex Kidd the Instant House stuff and the Schwarzenegger. It was like three devices, like this one, the Alex Kidd one, and the Schwarzenegger, the Henrik Schwarz one, were like the three first devices in the Ableton Pack section back in 2009 or 10, I believe. It seems so long ago. It's insane.
It's
Uh,
scary.
yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah. I mean, Instant House was kind of kind of phenomenal. Because I think it was like that was interesting to me because it felt like that was the first kind of idea of generative being introduced to uh, Ableton. I mean,
mm,
obviously, with Max for Life came the possibility of, creating all sorts of generative things. But in terms of like a polished, finished device that was accessible to anyone who had a live license.
absolutely.
Yeah, I remember trying Instant House soon after it came out and being like, "What the hell? Like, I didn't even need to program beats anymore."
Yeah, it was very popular, I
It
think.
seemed very magical. I hadn't done a lot of generative stuff myself at that moment, other than randomizing filters or something. So I was like, this thing just churns out quality house beats
Mm,
constantly.
nice.
And that's like a theme that you've continued on with in your Max development, right? Because you also have like SBX 2049.
So
Uh,
that's the drum machine, right?
yeah.
The green one thing.
And then you also have Sting, which got a lot of love when you released that. I don't recall. Was that 2020, 2019 you released Sting, the first version?
No, the first bit was two,
Earlier.
I think 13,
Oh,
2013.
I remember you
Yeah.
teasing it for some time, like, and then it not like you would show it, but not. It wasn't
Really?
like, yeah. I remember seeing, but maybe I'm confusing between what was public and what you were showing me.
Yeah, that can be. That can
um,
be. But I did. So the first version was 2013, and there were some iterations after, like until 2022 is the latest one,
I mean, I
which
love
is
the
actually.
first version. I don't know if folks are familiar with Iftah Sting, which is like a acid pattern generator. If you click this link in the comments, you see the original kind of UI, yellow UI with the. It's classic.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It
but I
became some
did
kind of a
really
culture.
appreciate the update. I mean, the update is amazing. I love that the acid smiley face changes too.
Yeah, it's a it's a nice update also because it's the version that I was using in the final years of Skinnerbox, which had some features that I felt needed to be out there. Like, but yeah, I love this device and I loved making it. It's fun because it started as a joke, more or less. I was like, hey, can I make something? I was in Reykjavik in Iceland with my partner. She was in residency, and we just had a newborn, and it was 2012, I think, the end of 2012 or the beginning of 13. I don't remember. And I was like, hey, I got up in the morning. Hey, can I actually make something that would generate acid lines, but musically generate? I'm not interested in random.
Right,
I
right,
want
right.
something that would like randomly generate musically sensible acid lines. And I tried it out, and as a joke, seriously. But then I realized that it's serious. It does actually this what I wanted to do,
I I
and then I
like
went for
that.
it.
I like that. I seem to recall making some joke devices as well back in the early days of Max for Live. It seemed like a fun thing to do, but I don't. I feel like that's an area now that could be perhaps re exploited again.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
in ways. Uh, yeah, I quite like Sting. I'm a big Acid fan. I love the 303. I love the squirrely, transposed, gliding bass lines. And yeah, Sting is a classic. And it's also one of those devices which actually is kind of like your your MO in some ways, is like utilities that inspire
Hmm.
or utilities that enable, uh, to you to extend your creativity. Um, that's how I've kind of always, I don't want, I shouldn't pigeonhole you as completely that, but you know, you provide a kind of resource for the extension of one's creativity.
I agree with you. I take this as a compliment, and I'm proud of it because I always felt very comfortable. Okay, actually, there is a bit of piece of news there, but most of the times I'm more interested in like writing tools than sound sources because I feel that sound is there already. Like there's so much of it and
Right.
fantastic and really really interesting stuff. And what I like to do is to write things that help taking control of things or tool utilities. I don't know how to put it exactly into words, but utilities that are also not only utilitarian in this sense, they should also be performative or have some kind of something to them. So I agree with you. I'm most of the time more interested in this than for example coding something that generates sound. For example. I mean, it does happen that I do it.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of personal preference. It's how I feel. I just feel that there is so much sound already.
And quality
But
sound.
equality is fantastic. People are doing amazing things. Sometimes I feel that there's a need for better interfacing, or that's that's like what I'm interested in most of the times.
Yeah.
So
S is in the chat. He's saying there's never enough sound.
good old S.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to. He makes the sound. I
Yeah.
make the
Come on,
performance.
S. How about dropping some sound innovation on us?
Yeah, he apologized. I see.
Yeah.
No, I'm not
Now
forgiving
he's
you.
now he's backpedaling. Um, yeah, I mean, I completely see what you're saying. You know, like what is the last major piece of synthesis? And let's not include AI, right? But you know, Carpler Strong. You know, it's been a long time since the world got FM. FM is
Hmm.
incredible, but like, you know, the what, you know, there's not a lot of the innovations in sound that I see happening because of you know, being enabled through technology, like the ability to be able to record at 32 bits and 64-bit audio, and you know, these kind of technological enabling through, you know, hardware development and bigger CPUs and um, but the sound itself we're just is just increasing quality. um
Yeah, I mean, I think that people also come up with new ways of approaching older ideas, which make things new in a way. It's a lot of times it's about interfacing. So
right.
uh, there
More
are
opera.
fantastic stuff there, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm, it just I think we're way past innovation in a way. Like it's not about innovating sound anymore. It's more about making things accessible. I don't know. But
Yeah,
that's a personal feeling.
I think you're onto something there. And like, yeah, I mean, Ableton releasing Live 12, for example, with the new way of working with the MIDI clips, with the Max for Live MIDI generators, is a great example. Like, that's just kind of unlocked this
Hmm.
new level of accessibility um, that wasn't there before. It's not like you couldn't make a mini clip that did that.
Exactly.
Another example was MC. Like, there's not that. It's not that you couldn't have 512 oscillators with a phase offset of, you know, 0.05, but like no one was going to sit there and make 512 cycle tildes.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, it just unlocked this possibility um, through a like technological advancement.
Yeah, I mean, we have amazing computers. We're we're very portable. Like things are very ripe. You can do all these things nicely. You can have an FM synth with like 1,024 voices, no sweat, no problem.
Right.
So, all these things are just very, very available, which is great. We live in a golden age, basically. It's the golden era,
Yeah.
especially for computer musicians. I consider myself a computer musician, so you know.
No, it's incredible. I mean, you can buy an M1 MacBook Air now, I think, on Amazon for about $500, and you could get yourself a very nice RME baby face or something, and you pretty much have everything you need to play the main stage at any festival.
Yeah, yeah,
uh, yeah, it's incredible. If the I want to touch on one of your biggest utilities that you've created, and that's the live performance pack.
right.
Uh, I'm curious, was that something that you kind of were already developing? And you kind of like bridged the gap to Ableton, or Ableton came to you with the idea and you came on board as the contract and develop that, or I feel I feel like also it
So,
leads comes from, you know, many years of your kind of career.
right. Yeah, I mean, actually, Ableton contacted me on this matter, but it's let's say that the ideas have been going in my head since 17 years, at least 18 years, because my role in Skinnerbox was I was playing the computer as an instrument.
Right.
Um, and I spent many, many, many years in tuning it. to become a better instrument, basically. So I was very excited, actually, because it was a dream of mine for a long time to properly materialize all these ideas I had about the computer as an instrument and performing live with the computer and to make it to a pack. You know, it's something that it was on my to-do list. Like, so I was
Right.
very, very, very happy to have been given the opportunity, actually. It was a ton of work. It was like almost 2 years, I think, of, yeah, from concepting it back with Matt Jackson, back in the
Right.
beginning. Yeah. Which he also should be disclosed here because he did like he's an excellent instrument designer, basically. He's responsible for wavetable, uh, among other things, which is one of my favorite synths, actually. So we sat together with a piece of paper and wrote, like, drew it, and then I went on to develop it, which
Wow.
was very cool. Yeah,
So it started as a napkin uh, outline.
more or less. I still have it somewhere. Like,
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, if people haven't checked it out, and I imagine maybe not everyone in here has, but Iftah's performance pack on released with Live 12 is incredible. It allows you to create your own kind of custom interface. Everything works the same way that as it would in a default DAW in Ableton, in terms of like MIDI learn, except you have this whole range of new possibilities. Like controls can have macros, controls can have different operation curves. Um, and then there's it's wild. I definitely would encourage everyone to check it out. I also feel like even if you're not an Ableton user, a lot of stuff could be gleaned from this pack to be leveraged inside of Max. Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I'm still coming to grips with it. I can't believe how epic it is.
thank you.
Um, I imagine you're still kind of actively working on it, right?
Yeah, mainly fixing bugs. There are bugs
Right.
always. Always, there's always
Yeah.
bugs. I do it in batches, basically.
Right.
Uh, that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, you go nuts.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and also collecting ideas for a future version
Future.
because that's people are really excited about some of the devices, especially performer and variations, and people have great ideas, and I try to listen.
Mm.
Um, because also that's a beautiful thing about building instruments. You enable other people and they have ideas, and then they come up with these amazing things. That you would never think about doing with your, you know,
Yeah,
like this. This
I
is
think as humans we get focused on an idea and we develop it and elaborate on it, and we start to see it in just one light, and then that's I think that's where not collaborators are great, or even just having like a community like here where you can share something, or a trusted friend even that you can just kind of like who will give you honest feedback, and they'll show you something, they'll shine a light on it in a different way, and you're like, oh, I never even thought of that. Like,
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I
yeah.
was very fortunate to. I had the infrastructure of Ableton with all their testers in center code, so this was really helpful. So it went through many, many iterations. Otherwise, there's no. I mean, obviously, when you release a device for Ableton, there are very high standards, and which I'm also happy with, anyways. But it's a very scary moment. Like you work on something for let's say a year, and then the first time you hand it out to people that actually test it, and they like give you back feedback at the first moment. You're like, wow, really? How come I never thought that this would like not work? You know, it makes so much sense. Like, it to the level of like, how would I not anticipate someone's computer burning up in flames? Like if I wouldn't get it right. So yeah, there's always that also, but
Yeah,
it's
it's wild. I mean, the second you take it off your computer, often that is a monumental moment, right? If it you
yeah,
take it from your computer and it works on someone else's computer, that's a miracle. Like,
exactly. Usually it doesn't. Like there's
right,
no.
right. There's somehow you've tried to be as vanilla as possible with Macs, but somehow some dependency has crept in,
Exactly.
and they open it up and they're like, "There's no audio, or there's no this," and like the Max console is just like full of
Yeah.
red, and
Six missing B patchers. You
yeah.
know,
Was that a thing? Was that a thing?
always something is always a thing. I always make mistakes. You know, it's like not.
I mean, there's so many moving parts, particularly in your performance pack. It's you know, I'm like
Eh,
I'm too
yeah,
scared to hit the edit button.
I think I did push like I pushed Max to new limits. Uh,
Yeah, I am
yeah,
honestly impressed. I mean, I think your input on this comes from your early days. I'm just gonna post an image in the comment here because it's inside of the Ableton, but it's your custom controller, and I know that you've made many of these over the years. Like,
yeah,
and I love
yeah.
that in is your role in Skinnerbox. Not only were you like the computer guy in the band, but you really were treating the computer as an instrument and
Yeah.
constantly developing physical ways to play. And you weren't content with off the shelf MIDI controllers.
No, there's also, I mean, I think maybe nowadays you don't need to do it anymore. There's everything, and everything is kind of high quality and available and cheap. But back then, there wasn't, I wanted something durable. Like I wanted this good feeling of bolted pots, for
Right,
example,
right.
and certain size, a certain amount of controls, and it was very the one you posted is a recent one actually, but the one I was using in the Skinnerbox days is bigger, like similar design actually, but just like twice the size. It was like the only way for me to get it. There was
Right.
there was just nothing that would satisfy me, so I went and did it myself,
Well,
basically.
and you guys toured heavily. Skinnerbucks, you would go
Yeah,
on 1 month, 2 month tours and play like half of the world. And yeah, I certainly know like the last thing you want to do when you're in some remote spot to book to play a 2 hour set is discover that your cheap plastic MIDI controller is not working anymore.
oh yeah, but you also the last thing you want to do is also discover that you're like okay made DIY controller is not work, which happened also a couple of times.
Did you?
So
So these are always funny stories to me. So what happened? Like you pulled it out. You were doing sound check.
I think I remember there was once in Mexico that my most important potentiometer, which was like the top right corner, which I would use for high pass filter. It's the one that I needed it mentally. It was noisy. It became noisy basically. So what I did, and it was I had no way to get parts. Like it was a very specific pot, and it was in somewhere in Mexico. I think in what was it in Guanajuato. It's a town in Mexico basically.
Yeah,
So basically, and Olaf had luckily always carried like a soldering iron with him because he also had to repair the Moog a couple of times on stage or before. So I basically opened it up and swapped pots, like took one that I would like,
physically.
yeah, that would be the only way to do it. Like I just swapped
Wow.
them and that's it. Yeah.
So you didn't. Okay, that's wild. I thought, oh, maybe you remapped MIDI learned.
No, no, I wanted to have it there on the top right corner. It was very important. It's like cognitive memory
Right,
of how to
right.
play
Muscle,
since years.
muscle.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just opened it up and took one of the pots from the back left part that I would use less and swap them.
Yeah,
That
I
would be
mean,
the way
I
to.
recall seeing some videos of yours where, like you guys, despite including computers and the like, you guys were a pretty physical band. Like,
Yeah.
so I get that that muscle memory was really key to playing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Also, I mean, I always used the computer as an instrument. It was not like an accessory. It was my instrument. It's the thing I was playing.
Yeah,
So
you were playing it. It wasn't just I mean, it wasn't just providing playback, uh, you know, backing tracks or whatever. Like it was literally uh yeah, the instrument.
yeah, exactly. It was the instrument, and because it was always an instrument, I always had the need to make it to a better instrument.
Right.
You know, to to help myself, like it's a very basic example, but if you buy a guitar, you sit and you tune it. You don't just play it open tuning the whole time or
Right,
whatever.
right.
You put new strings and you maintain it and you wax it every once in a while, even if you feel like, and whatever. So same goes for computer, I guess. There's, there's like so many things, so many small things you can do, you know.
Yeah.
And this is everything I'm saying now is the basis for performer, for example, or the performance pack in general. Like it's the idea
Right.
of like turning the computer to a better instrument. Like it's already an instrument. Like right now, we're like by now it's a legitimate instrument. Was not always the case.
Right.
And for example, in the case if we're talking about Ableton Live, it's such a Ableton Live is an amazing generic environment, and you need to tune it to your needs.
Yeah.
So this is what it is about,
Yeah,
I guess.
and I think you touched on something there too, like this idea of evolution, right? Like it's not the computer in particularly, and this is where I think it differs a little bit from a guitar. Although lots of people do this with their guitars, that constantly trying different strings or switching the pickups on the guitar. I certainly have friends who their guitar is never in a single state for more than a few months. But when you get to the computer, where you got something like Ableton, and in particular Max for Live and Max, like your live set, and I know I speak for myself here and perhaps others that it's never, it constantly is evolving and changing,
Right.
improving as you change as a person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the fun part also, I miss this a bit. Like this, I used to do it all the time, to sit and
Tinker.
maintain and basically, yeah, always expand and come up with idea and then just play these ideas for a long, long, sit in the studio and just tweak it, to be something new. It's very exciting, and then go and play it on stage. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. When you guys, I mean, you guys also released a lot of material, a lot of
yeah.
releases at Skinnerbox. Would the music come to be through those improvisational sessions in the studio, like long drawn out, like figuring it out? Is that where it would kind of come? I get the sense you didn't write music just like
Actually, surprisingly, not always. There was a lot of very planned, tedious composition going on there. Sometimes it was
Okay,
like it was there was a separation like between like being very improvised on stage and being very compositional in the studio. Actually, there were
okay,
some outliers, where we would like jam and do things basically,
yeah,
but most of the times it was much more structured. The studio work.
there you
I think it
go.
was a healthy division actually.
Right, right. Okay, here's my other question though. The structured stuff, would you then take that out live and kind of road test it before committing to records, or
Mm, no, but it did happen that some things that we were working on the studio and didn't feel like finished tracks ended up in the live set many times. And then consequently, after playing them for 5 years, or I don't know, every once in a while, they did end up being tracks because, you know,
they got refined from playing
yeah,
live. And
or something was inspirational in the process.
yeah, I
Like,
really
you know,
find this interesting. I think this is super interesting. Like, because there's the guy and the girl and those who write the EDM beats, right, with the pencil in the MIDI piano roll, and like refine it, work on it in the studio, print it, and it doesn't get played live until after that. And then there's you know the guy or the person who just is like, it evolves through like playing it out, playing it live, going back to the studio, refining it some more, and eventually perhaps it becomes something that's released.
absolutely. I think there's no golden rule. It's just like
Right.
it's whatever works for you,
Yeah, yeah.
basically.
It's fascinating because I do have a lot of friends come from a more traditional music background, right? Not computer based, but they're they obviously utilize a computer now, as do most musicians, uh,
Hmm.
and they definitely come from this more like, we'll write a song, we capture the song in the DAW, we mix it, we master it. Oh, now we can play it live, and like it's fascinating because I see them go through the struggle of, how do I learn? They have to, like, they've made the track's going to be released, they have to learn how to play it live.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's definitely challenging because that I think this is where this clear cut between studio work and live work went for us. I think it would be very hard for me to play structured tracks with beginning and end, for example, in this kind of
Right, right.
dance scenario. It was always about improvising and deciding when is what and combining elements. So it was like if there were any structured tracks, they happened in the moment, and then we would repeat them maybe every once in a while because they happened on stage already. But we
Mm.
would usually not like come up with tracks and then play them live. It's I don't know,
I mean, this is
but
probably completely wrong, but in my mind, I've always thought of you guys as like the kraut rock band equivalent, but in like electronic music. You guys are like Can, but like, you know,
yeah, yeah, maybe,
um,
maybe.
I mean, I just, yeah, I'm not saying that's correct at all, but it's like,
No, why not? I mean,
uh,
it's also a sort of a compliment. So
yeah, I mean, I love krautrock, and I
yeah,
just, the way I would see you guys playing live, in like the physicality that you would bring to performing live. I don't know. I just always thought about it, that comparison happened, like, not in a, not intended in a negative way. I love krautrock.
yeah.
You had the same level of invigoration and fun that I saw from kraut bands,
I
and
mean, honestly, I'm super thankful for this period of my life. I think I was very lucky to have these 17 years of my life of doing this full time, basically.
yeah.
Also because I feel that I got to experience this scene, when it was kind of still cozy,
Oh, you were
free.
probably in Berlin in the best time ever. Like, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Berlin and outside also everything was very exciting, you know.
Yeah.
and we had some. It's very funny that we talk about Skinnerbox. It's been like a couple of years now. Also, I loved it that you put it on the flyer, on the Discord
I
flyer
had
because it's
nothing
been
to
a
do with
while.
that, but
I I think it's brilliant. It's been a while like since I've seen Skinnerbox next to my name because we disbanded like it's been 3 years already, 4 years almost.
yeah.
I like it, and I we we had this like I still have a physical memory of the energy
Mm.
that you feel in specific moments when things are working, and I'm very very happy that I got to experience this basically, considering the state of the world and everything that happened to, like, I don't know, I don't want to, not sure how to rephrase this, but I think things today are much harder. As a young musician, basically.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, not necessarily harder. Maybe sometimes easier because everything is much more accessible. It's easier to start to make music and to get the tools and everything. But I don't know, like to be able to play in clubs, for example.
Right, and not have to put up a $500 deposit or more. This is happening in Los Angeles. It's almost there's very few places that play in LA where you don't have to pay an
This is
advance
insane.
to the venue that you may or may not get back.
This is insane. Yeah, I recently saw an email. Some kind of festival in Ibiza where they charge the artists like 5,000 euros to play, to headline or something. I don't know. That's very weird for me.
My
I
big thing,
usually
yeah.
I stay away from like claiming that things used to be better. I feel that this is like things that old people say.
Right.
Uh,
And we're
so
not old.
no, also things not are not things definitely weren't better. Like it's just things were
I
different.
Yeah, I think you're correct there. I mean, things are easier, accessibility. Like a MacBook Pro 20 years ago was what you had to mortgage your home to buy.
Yeah.
Things are more accessible for sure. Things are easier. It's easier to communicate. It's easier to get knowledge. But there's other parts of the music industry have declined, and I don't think we sound like old people by acknowledging that. I mean, I certainly have some young Gen Z students who are very aware of the differences that have changed and how the industry's changed. And, partially is not to blame anything, it's just capitalism in a sense. Like, you know,
Yeah, I guess it's many things.
but
It's but yeah, I what I essentially wanted to say is that I feel very happy I did this. Like I feel that I got to experience something that
yeah,
I'm not sure is very easily experienced today.
I
I
would
don't know.
agree
Maybe it
at the
is, but
moment for sure. Yeah, I totally agree. And I know the period you were playing. I mean, I myself came to Europe in 2007 with a laptop and a sound card and was literally turning up to venues, booked the tour through MySpace messages,
yeah,
and
nice.
didn't get robbed, and turned up and got paid at every show. Like, advanced. I knew what I would get from the show. Like, that's incredible. But I
Yeah.
do think the current climate, whilst not amazing, is not sustainable either. And I am an optimist. I think things like the way artists get paid, releasing music through Spotify, etc., is not sustainable. I'm
No.
hopeful. I'm an optimist. I think things will get better at some point.
I'm being optimist with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, LA in itself is not sustainable as a city. It's not,
Yeah.
and so these venues are just not gonna. You could, and what happens? It's really sad. Like, only certain bands can afford to put $1,000 advance up to book a venue on a Thursday night, right? Like, so even people are only getting a certain type of music The
Yeah.
the DIY laptop noise guy is not playing much
No. No.
because $1,000 is that's a lot of food. That's a
Yeah,
lot of things.
that's a tough call for a young musician. It's like not sustainable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little frustrating for me because I do love to go and see live experimental music, and I do really enjoy those moments, and I also think they were key for me as a young artist, seeing other people play that and do that stuff, and I feel like there's something, you can have the live stream online, you can have the releases, you can have the Instagram, but there's something really nice about being in a room with like-minded people and the connections that happen in those moments too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Folks,
I agree.
we're at the top of the hour here. We've got Iftah Gabbai on the line. Uh, let's throw it open to questions. We've got Iftah. Let's put him on the line. Let's see what he has to say. What are some questions here? And maybe they're general questions. Maybe they're questions to myself and Iftah. Um, throw it in the chat, please. Um,
I'm
Iftah,
an open book.
what are you up to right now? You're still working at Ableton. What is there any other stuff on the boiler that you can even talk about? Um,
So I kind of always do small scale stuff for Ableton. Either like big. I'm freelancing. Like I'm not
yeah.
employed by Ableton. Um, so at the moment, I do pretty interesting stuff actually. Um, so you remember how I said that I usually build things that are like more interfacing with other things. So I actually build something that makes sound as we speak. I'm
Oh my
contradicting
lord.
myself. Yeah, but it's too early to talk about it.
Okay.
Uh,
Exciting.
it's exciting, and it's a pretty big scale project, and it will take me a while to complete. That's for sure.
Okay.
And I'm still coming down from all the. So I was working more or less non-stop since 2020, and it's the first time where I have some time off right now, post performance pack. I still do some small things. I'm. That's the problem is that most of the times I cannot disclose what I actually do. It's a bit stupid.
I know that
Uh,
well. I know that well.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so, and on top of all of the things, I also take online courses and I study data science, which is super interesting. A lot of Python, basically, and data science as such, which is something I didn't know would fascinate me so much.
Wow.
And yeah, it's insane. I can talk about it like I talk since now. It's
That's cool,
yeah.
man. I mean, I get it. It's numbers. It's numbers. It's mass numbers. It's like yeah, data sets. It's random sources. Yeah, I'm not that surprised, but yeah.
I am I don't know. Maybe I'm just very I'm a noob. You know, it's like you take somebody from the data science and you show him a synth, and you would be like, "Oh wow, a synth! It's so exciting!" You know. So I'm this guy, just the other way around. Uh, no, but it's amazing. So I do this on my like off hours
Yeah.
basically, and it's very nice for me. Also, it's like I expand my horizons. It does well to my brain
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And I don't know why I do it yet, but I'm gonna use it for things. I'm not sure
Nice.
what for yet, but it's super interesting. And
Yeah,
also I
that's cool.
enjoy, yeah, I also really enjoy Python, like as a language. I find it very, I already plot on how to use it with Max, basically, or inside Max.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's very exciting times for me, actually.
I love learning these things about people. Because it's very easy to think, oh, the only thing this guy ever does is, you know, program Max for life, right? That's his whole life. But we know there's actually other stuff going on. It's like you learn that someone is like a coffee barista in their free time or something, or yeah.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
what are the and because it all it's part of your life. It feeds back. Often these things feed back into one another, and inspiration comes from other sources. And yeah,
Yeah.
there's some good questions here. Old mate Fat Wad 666 is asking, you have a really nice aesthetic in all of the examples that you post on Instagram. I completely agree. Do you have a design background or more just create what looks cool?
I do not have any design. Thank you very much, first of all, for these very kind words. No, I do not have any design background. I just go. I think in the beginning it was very intuitive, and now as I do it as I go, I feel that it's less intuition and more some kind of rules that I put to myself, more or less. I just try to make simple things. That's the key, because if you make simple things, you can, they will. If you're not really good in design, I'm not good in design. You can make simple things and then they work, basically.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely agree. That yeah, you there's something fascinating about your posts. It's like this. It's accessible. It's fun. You don't like. You're not trying to impress everyone with how complex your thing is. You know, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah,
some posts I
yeah,
find some posts are overwhelming. It's like too much. It's like, um, yeah,
I agree with you. I don't know. I mean, I also this whole social network things. It's not. I don't need it. Like,
right, right,
I'm not.
right, right. Yeah, it's
I
not
would
in it.
argue in my Skinner box days, I needed it. You need to have this presence in order
Right.
to. So I just do it for fun, I
Yeah,
guess. That's why it works better.
I think that's where social media is honestly at its best when it's when you're like chasing the likes or chasing the I need to get more followers
Oh,
or oh man, it's miserable world actually.
yes, I
Um,
agree.
and I find what happens is this inauthentic thing creeps in as well. Like you start gamifying it, and it's not the authentic self, if that makes sense either.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean,
I made a
yeah,
conscious choice a few years ago when I actually haven't even talked about this, but I started getting offered, hey, you want this URAC module? You want this thing? You have to post about it. And I was like, oh, this feels really dirty. Like, I
yeah,
don't like this. Like, I didn't feel comfortable as a person. And particularly, I started thinking, like, if I'd seen someone like myself 20 years prior, like on Instagram with all of these synthesizers, I might not have even started music because I would have been like, how would I ever afford that stuff, you know?
absolutely. I think it's delusional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
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 happening.
tough.
What's
It's tough.
crazy to me is how blurry it is now, right? Like it's not. It used to, maybe a few years ago it was very clear who the influencer was and who the artist was, and now it's very blurry.
Promotional content.
Yeah, and so it's like,
Yeah,
oh, when am I being sold to and when I'm not being sold to? Like,
exactly,
yeah. So
exactly.
authenticity is key, I think. And yeah, fun actually is key. Fun's like my biggest. I'm always like, how can I make my creativity more fun? Because what's life without fun, right?
Yeah. Also, it's very. I'm a big believer in the fact that things that are stupid and fun usually result in great ideas. So
Right.
That's how things usually start, you know.
Playfulness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question is, can you recommend any online Python courses?
I recommend Coursera. It's very accessible, very cheap, basically. There's a cheap Python, there's a free Python course I did before I went to on Coursera. Let me.
Yeah, if you have any links to
I
post,
think I think the name. Yeah, the thing is that I cannot really type. Or I can. Can you look for future coder?
Future Coder. I think.
Yeah, it's like a online
Oh
interactive.
yeah, here it is. Just
It's fantastic. It's for free. It's very comprehensive, and I did this before I went on doing any paid courses just to get some bases
yeah,
because I didn't know any Python. So that's what I did basically.
nice. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like the website. Looks
yeah.
great.
It's very fun. It's like game like, you know.
Yeah. Uh, the Blair is asking like, what is your plot to get Python inside of Macs? I heard of people using Java to call Python from the command line, calling it from the shell.
Let's
that
say that
that's a
I've
rabbit
heard of
hole.
ways, not ways, that I cannot expose yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds promising. Uh, Mod Cicadia is asking to follow up. Do your visual stuff in Jitter, or do you use visual stuff in Jitter, or do you use any other methods for the videos you post and so on?
Um, sometimes I use jitter actually. Many times it's just like screen capturing Ableton basically, or
Right.
Max and rearranging elements. I think Max and Ableton are already very aesthetic. That you don't need much more. Mm, I the, for a good while I used to use. I still sometimes do. I haven't got to it for a long time, but I highly recommend vSynth. It's a fantastic pack that
Oh
you can get
yeah,
on the
V
Max
VSynth is
packages.
incredible.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah,
For
Kevin
feedback stuff.
Cripper. It's developed by Kevin Cripper. If
Yes.
folks haven't checked it out, get into the Max Package Manager and check out VSynth. Um, it's it's one of the best. It's like best set of Visi building blocks out there. They're higher level than your default Jitter vanilla objects, but they're very advanced. So you can do simple stuff. You can do very complex stuff.
And it's also beautifully engineered. It's a beautiful pack. Like all the examples and the patches as themselves, I think it's highly inspirational. The work is highly inspirational
Yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of Max coding. So
Right. And he uses a lot of JIT Gen. What I love about Kevin's work is he has incredibly detailed help files for each of the modules. He also uh, is updating it. I mean, I think it's one of the most regularly updated packages in the Max. And a lot of that is the onus is not on cycling; it's on the developer. Um, and we'll push updates when they're ready to go. And Kevin updates it regularly. It's wild.
hmm,
Uh,
absolutely.
S is asking a question, and actually, I've wondered this myself. Do you see the comments here? If he posted a little
No, but
screen.
if S is asking it, it must be good. Wait. Uh,
How do you
where are
go
we?
about composing these big text entries into your patch series? Uh,
Ah,
I've also wondered this myself. Can you let us know?
so
Yeah.
yeah. So actually, uh, we should talk about this more. Actually, you remind me of something. So in the beginning of this, I do this thing where I make music with Max. Uh, these patches, I think you know them.
Yes.
So in the beginning, I came up with this format of like writing a frequency and then putting a dash as a. I mean, it's not. It's really not revolutionary, I guess. Uh, I invented this format of
Yeah,
frequency
you
as an
invented it.
elderly.
Let's go
Yes,
with that you invented it. Yeah.
yeah. So, and I wrote, so the first couple of patches I wrote it per hand, and it was very nice. You can hear it. Like everything is kind of, it's very microtonal and like shorter sequences. And then at some point I also wrote where there was like one of these patches, these musical patches. I wanted like a more complex multi-channel composition. So I basically wrote a small device that takes MIDI and convert it to this.
Nice, nice.
Yes.
So you can play the MIDI or generate the MIDI, and it will do the
You can compose the MIDI sequence and then convert it to this and then use it as an input to my thing, basically.
S says, "Oh, so you're cheating."
Yes, I'm cheating. Of course I'm cheating. No, it is. Of course,
No,
yeah.
no, no.
So
You
no, no. I,
invented
I
this.
actually, I should have actually said that I sat and wrote it by hand.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be amazing.
You invented this, Iftar. This is
Yeah, yeah. I
this is
invented sequencing, so
yeah, this is your IP right here.
yeah, you're right. I told you it's
um,
going to be a good question if S is
oh
asking it.
yeah, I mean he's the caliber that S creates questions. I mean there was the
Of
highest
course,
quality. There's
absolutely,
never any tongue in cheek at all. Um,
absolutely.
never. Um,
When is he going to be on the Discord? So I'll be the one asking the question. Yes, I'll prepare
Yeah,
some nice
we
questions.
actually. So this, I guess this is the more official office hours now. But late last year and right at the beginning of this year, we were kind of testing it out. Uh, and S was kind of part of that. S was in early on, but we definitely got to have S back. He's got
I
a lot.
know.
That guy has like a lot of pots on the oven.
He knows I love him also.
Nice. Well, folks, what did I have for breakfast? Yes, I'll answer your question. I had some cereal. I had a banana. I sliced it up and put some cereal, generic cereal. One little dollop of almond butter, and then some like natural yogurt. And then I mixed it all up and had that with a cup of coffee.
So healthy.
Delicious, delicious.
Nice.
Folks, we're going to wrap up here shortly. So, any last minute questions? Get them in. Oh, yeah, the book question. Yes. If the you did you well, you already mentioned a killer book, which I gotta check out. More brilliant than the sun.
Yes.
That I'm very curious about that book. Is there any other books that you would recommend, or that you're
Uh,
currently
uh,
reading that you really really enjoy?
I would lie if I'd say yes. So I can either come up with something that I read a couple of years ago, or leave
Well,
this question up.
but
I was
perhaps it was an important book you did read a few years ago that you feel like's integral to your work.
hmm. Good question.
I
I'm
mean,
not
you've
sure.
already given us an excellent recommendation, so
Yeah, I already used my best book,
yeah,
before.
I can't wait to. I'm gonna get this book.
It's excellent. I think everyone which is somehow remotely into music and electronic music should read it, basically.
Nice.
It's very expensive, but I think you can find it as PDF somewhere.
Yeah,
If
actually,
it's not so easy to find, yeah.
funnily, I typed it into Google. The first link was actually the PDF.
Mm.
So
Yes,
But just like music, I always try to support uh, authors and artists where I can. So
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. It
Um,
might reach 3 digits. So
oh,
like for
ouch!
young folks might,
Damn.
yeah.
Is the one last question here from iFeature? Is there a better FFT tracking way, better than Sigmon or Fiddle and Retune, which does lower than 100 hertz?
Mm,
Tough question.
I mean, you can check out the calibration part of the CV instrument. It does really, really
Oh,
well. The only thing it's not fast. It won't. It's not for real time applications. It's more like it's slower. Um, but it. Well, what are you laughing? Wait, I need to read it down.
there's another question here. The glasses behind you, are they used for drinking or for their sound quality?
Both.
Both.
Yes,
Right answer.
both.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
getting the fundamental pitch of 100 hertz and even lower bass frequencies is always tricky. Um,
So that I can definitely forward everyone to check. It's like you can just edit the patch and look at the calibration part of CV instrument from CV Tools.
CV instrument in CV
CV
tools.
Tools also a pack we did back then at Skinnerbox.
It's free. It's
Uh,
a free pack, right?
it's yeah, you need to have like Max for Live, I guess, but
Right.
obviously you have it. It's a free pack, and so it's very very efficient in tracking also complex waveforms.
Nice.
And it would go as low as 30, 40 hertz, I think. However, the caveat is that it's not fast. It's like not something you could really use for real time applications. It's slower than,
So it's inside of CV instrument.
yeah,
Instrument.
exactly.
Nice. Nice. Well, folks, we've got some hot tips there from Iftah. Uh, Iftah, what's for dinner tonight? Or what did you have for dinner tonight?
Dinner. It's very late here in Central European time.
Yes.
What did we had burgers
B-
actually.
burgers. That's very
Yeah,
American
it
of
was,
you.
yeah, I know it was the last day of school. Like so, there was we went for it. Yeah,
Nice. Any particular burger place, or were they homemade burgers or
they were home ordered
home ordered?
burgers. Yeah,
Nice.
very very low key. Yeah,
I do love a good burger though.
yeah.
It's barbecuing time here in California. I'm just barbecuing like 5 or 6 nights a week.
Oh my god,
Love
nice.
it, love it.
Nice.
Also because it's hot outside, so I don't want to make the house hot by cooking inside. So I'm like cooking
Mm.
outside. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very hot in Berlin also. Like we had like 30 something today, not but like the last days.
yeah. We had a heat wave here. It was brutal.
Yeah,
All right,
insane.
folks. If the stick around, but folks, we're gonna wrap up the call here. Definitely, if you came in towards the end, definitely scroll up and check out all the links that we shared. There's a ton of stuff here. Uh, this this call with Ifta 2 will be available on YouTube in the next day or so. Thanks for everyone for
Will,
sticking
will, will
around.
it in, will it include the 8 minutes of us having
I
technical
mean, I
difficulties?
might take that as like director's cut, and that will come out later on the bonus DVD. Um,
Amazing.
yeah, well, that was. I feel like that was a great comedy routine to just like vocal warm up. Um, Mega comp of technical difficulties. Yeah, S has man. This guy is full of ideas. S.
Yeah, he's like is the S is the classic guy. If you have a magician, if you're a magician and you have a magician show, he's like the guy who pull up the crowd to participate in the.
Right,
We
right, right,
everything's
right,
funny.
right.
We talked about it before. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
He's
the
he's
best participator.
Right, right, right. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
he keeps the morale up. He's the yeah.
exactly.
Awesome, folks. Thanks for hanging around. Next week we have Jay Curtis Lizdexic uh, as our guest. Jay was instrumental in the development of Rainbow. He also works in AI there in Melbourne, and Jay also has an incredible Gen YouTube series. So definitely come around next week. we'll have Jay Curtis from Australia. Awesome, folks. Be well. See you out and around Discord. Ifta, stick around a second, mate.
I will. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.